Hey everyone, welcome. It's another comic book countdown. I've got 8 comics here that I'm going to count down and give you my thoughts super subjectively, ranking them from number 8 down to number 1. And I've got some beer. But have I said, hello, I am Sleepy Reader, aka Damien. Good to see y'all. And let me open this beer. I bought it. I have to confess, I bought it just for the label. Gigantic Brewing Company Smack Dab Hazy IPA. Everyone's got a gimmick now. Too many new beer companies. I have to start all over, so to speak, testing beers to see what I like. Brad Delay, beer number 111, alcohol 6.3%. I don't know. Brewed in Portland, which doesn't necessarily mean it's good at all. Let's give it a shot. Nice smell. That is good. That is good. So I'm going to have to remember it. I have it on record. Gigantic Smack Dab Hazy IPA. Will this company be around in a year? That's an interesting question. So, let me shrink myself if I can. Trying to be high tech here. This is just to cover up the comics. It was a mostly quite good week, but the bottom comic is still, which has been the bottom comic in a bunch of my videos. Get my junk mail out of the way. The bottom comic at number 8 is yet again Wonder Woman. And I must have made a mistake when I reviewed it last week, thinking it was new that week, because a new one came out this week. So I suspect the one I got last week, my shop got late and didn't tell me that it was late, but my shop doesn't really know what's going on a lot of the time. But it's not a bad cover at all. And I want to be excited for a new character, Liar Liar, but other than I think they're just going for the gimmick. I guess this is her reveal issue, but her first appearance was 3 issues ago, I guess, and that's why I had trouble getting that comic. I wasn't even paying attention. I had no idea there was a new character in there, and I didn't even know after I read it. It wasn't until this issue that I realized, oh, that was the new character. This artist, who took the place of the artist I really liked, Mikel Janin, Carlo Barbieri, actually does do a bit of a better job this issue. Still not, to my taste compared to Mikel Janin. Maybe the colorist has picked up his or her game too. But yeah, that's not a very exciting looking Wonder Woman to me. I guess to other people, maybe raised on manga or what have you, that would be a cool looking Wonder Woman. There's a cool looking Wonder Woman in the ad for Endless Winter. So my main thought continued to be, so what? Why am I buying this comic? Do I give it one more issue? Do I tell my shop to drop it right now? It's the whole not Matthew Lord. What's his name? Something Lord. Him as the suspected bad guy and all of that. I just didn't find that a very good drama. That, Wonder Woman can't trust this guy, but he keeps saying you have to trust me and you can't trust me and I've changed. But just the storyline I'm not buying into much or getting much excited about. In at number 7 was Bad Mother. And I didn't even realize, I guess I'd put this on my pull list. So I had thought I just picked it up off the rack last month, and I decided it wasn't really for me, although it wasn't a horrible comic or anything. But I got the second issue because it was on my pull list. And I feel like Mike Deodato's art is either growing on me or getting better in this issue. And the situation is clarifying more, that her daughter really has been kidnapped and she's working on finding out who kidnapped her and what's going on, and is going to uncover a very nasty crime ring. It's hard to see that there are surprises coming up after this, but we'll see. Maybe there's more twists. All of this going through her daughter's cell phone stuff, I didn't feel like reading all of this, and I guess this was supposedly the trail of clues that she's following. Nice idea, but it just didn't capture me. But anyway, this is not a bad crime comic. It just, you can tell the difference between this and like an Ed Brubaker comic. It's just all the experience that those guys, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, have on doing crime comics. So anyway, it was okay in at number 7. And so everything else here are comics that I really enjoyed. In at number 6 is Red Mother number 8. And the reason it's kind of lowest of all these comics that I liked is simply because I know you're afraid I'm going to spill the beer on the comics. Woohoo. Yeah. I don't think I've ever spilled beer on comics, but it could happen. In which case I'll edit the video and you'll never know. So I've kind of complained about this comic, and I've worded it as being that every issue for, I don't know, about 4 issues now, kind of has the same horror beat as she goes about her life. There's something creepy in the background. In this case, there's some black paint or black tar or some black stuff spilled in front of her workplace. And by the end of the issue, we get the sense that some of the people around her are part of this Red Mother conspiracy. What the Red Mother conspiracy is or what they're going to do to her, they haven't done anything to her yet. She has headaches. Kind of this recurring motif. It's so well done, it's still fun, but my impatience is growing. So I think of the early issue or 2 of this was either number 1 or number 2 for me. But now it's just kind of near the bottom of the books that I still really enjoy to read. I'm certainly not going to drop Red Mother. Although, if I could go back in time, I might decide to read it in trade. I'm not sure. Okay, Spy Island came out this week, but it also came out the very last week when the comic shops closed. And some of the comic shops, including the ones owned by Dark Horse, Things from Another World, actually were already closed when this comic came out. And I got this through the mail from TFAW, and now they have a second print that came out this past Wednesday. And I heard people reviewing it, and I hadn't read it yet. I had, as I've mentioned elsewhere, hoarded a bunch of comics and then didn't end up reading them in my panic when COVID hit. So now I read it. And I liked it quite a bit. So I put it in at number 5. Is that right? And it's by Chelsea Kane and a team of other people whose names I don't know, but are very good. I think most of the people working on this, except maybe the letterer, are women. And it has nice art, very daring and nice coloring. The one thing I didn't like is these photoshopped in fish, but that's just being kind of picky. And it's kind of a kind of slightly grim and gruesome, murder-filled spy story. The spies are more like just assassins, I guess, in a way. In a world where all kinds of fantasy kinds of things happen, apparently, at least it's referred to in the dialogue. But all told with kind of a tongue-in-cheek sense of humor, which I think is one of Chelsea Kane's strong points. I haven't read her novels, but I assume her crime novels have a certain sense of humor to them. And they also feature women killers. So anyway, it was a lot of fun to read. And so I'm trying to think, do I put this on my pull list? Will it continue to show up on my on the racks at my comic book store if I don't? My comic book store, which I like a lot, is very small, so they don't get a lot of rack comics. And so that's kind of the difficult gamble, because really a book like this I might want to see if 2 or 3 issues in the promise continues and then put it on my pull list. That would be ideal. But anyway, Yeah, Chelsea Kane just has this kind of sense of humor that is very Chelsea Kane. And now, I'm not going to show, there was the last 2 pages kind of revealed something that I didn't really understand. I guess mermaids are real here, amongst other things, and they may be very scary. I'm not sure. I didn't really understand the reveal. So that's part of why I want to read the next issue, but I don't know if I want to stick with this series or not. And I really don't know if it's planned to be a long one. A lot of Dark Horse series just come out 5 issues and then they're gone. Speaking of 5 issues and then they're gone, in at number 4, I'm putting Join the Future number 5. And this might be the last issue. I can't tell. It does say the end on the last page. There you got it. Whoops. The end. As I've said, I think other times that I haven't included all of these issues in my countdowns because I haven't kept up with my reading on it until now when I caught up. I love the art. It's kind of a cool sci-fi western kind of setting. And the coloring is really great by Brad. Is it Brad Simpson? Brad Simpson. Big shout outs to both Brad Simpson and Petar Kowalski, who is the artist. And so anyway, I found it very satisfying. It's it's definitely a fantasy where this one girl can at least temporarily take out the company and take out a lot of their mercenaries or whatever they are. And I still wish we knew more about this this Join the Future company that's forcing everybody to join their mechanized cities. So I hope this does continue or have a second volume that shows us what that future is that they want to join. Another interesting thing is that because it's kind of a conflict between the urban world or at least some people think there's a conflict between the urban world and the world of small towns and farmers and the like people who hunt a lot of their food and that kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, economically, the pressures on small towns are really great. But I think Americans still want small towns to exist. So anyway, it may have a weird kind of political-ish angle to it that's not fully explored, but is there. I don't know. Anyway, really interesting book, and just love the way it looks. Total pulpy fun. You can even tell by the title, by the cover. Hawkman featuring the Justice Society of America. Hawkman and Hawkwoman have kind of been sent back in time to whatever version of the Justice Society this is, to live out their last life with no more reincarnation. And Vendetti and this wonderful artist, Passaran, just create a whole issue centered around basically a big fight scene between a group of criminals and the group of heroes. But it works. It doesn't feel boring, because just generic fight scenes bore me a lot nowadays in my old age. But this was just exciting and fun to read. I know this is wrapping up soon. I assume when they wrap it up, even though now Hawkman is in the past and is not supposed to reincarnate anymore, I hope they'll they'll somehow leave open the door for Hawkman to return to DC's regular universe. So many ads. Yeah, it's just interesting how well Vendetti does at integrating fast-paced action and characterization that you really care about, and kind of the wild, spinning out the meaning of the wild sort of sci-fi situations or fantasy situations that our heroes are involved in. So yeah, just another really solid, fun issue of Hawkman. I haven't heard what issue they're ending on. Will they end on a nice round issue 30 or when? And then before I picked up Oblivion Song, which I'm ranking at number 2, I was thinking to myself, maybe Oblivion Song has gone on long enough. I mean, do all these indie comics, I start by thinking to myself, oh, I want a book that I like to go on forever. But really, maybe about, when you take some kind of sci-fi indie idea, maybe about 20, 25 issues is all it needs to go. And I know Kirkman doesn't have any plans for ending this soon, but I kind of wish it would end. And then I read this issue, and I was like, whoa, there's more cool stuff that I've got to keep reading, and I'm glad it's not ending too soon. There's some confusing switching around in time, but you managed to figure it out. And then there's this sort of great reveal that I won't explain in any depth about what's been going on Earth while our main hero has been off in the other Oblivion dimension. And it helps bring all the pieces back together and bring a focus again to the story and an urgency to what's going to happen next. I still feel like, to be honest, as I think about what I read in the story, I still feel like it'd be nice if it wrapped up in another 10 issues. But I don't think it will. I think Kirkman wants to make it a longer one. But we'll see. Because he has, I don't know, how long has he taken with some of the other ones that he's wrapped up? The ones that weren't Walking Dead or Invincible. He's had a few others that I think he's now wrapped up. Then in at number 1, not much of a surprise, Sandman Quarantine. Although I wasn't sure, because this is a collection of basically 4-page stories in the Sandman universe, if there is such a thing. And they were originally done digitally, and now they're all assembled into an oversized and expensive $5.99 issue. And it was excellent. As in any kind of anthology of short pieces, some were better than others, some clicked more than others, and with a quick in and out, they've all got a little bit of their own gimmick. But I really enjoyed this Adam and Eve one. And then this one about all these people named Mike, who are all the same person, all iterations of the same person, was really a cool 4-page surreal story. I mean, I think they almost look like the Ice Cream Man, but without hair. So I'm not sure what the intention of the Ice Cream Man's connection. Then there was this crazy pinky ring, which was like, obviously it was a take on on Green Lantern, but it was like one of the more whacked out sort of Golden Age comics that you might see around, and then making fun of it. Then just a crazy thing about a guy with a psychotic breakdown having dinner with his ex-wife. That was brilliant and disturbing. And this brilliant one that finished up the section that was by the comics creators about a guy taking a taxi ride with the Ice Cream Man. There he is. To anyone who's been reading Ice Cream Man, that's clearly him there. He's the taxi driver. And it's just a surreal little journey that only makes sense on a poetic level, but really, really clicked for me and was really good. And a great outro. But then there were kind of the also-rans, the guest series of the Quarantine comics. And even though it had a number of people, some people I don't even recognize, and other people that I respect a lot, like Declan Shalvey and Al Ewing, it just kind of showed to me, none of them were horrible, but it just showed to me that there's some special alchemy that is Ice Cream Man, that is created by the two main creators, Maxwell Prince and Martin Morazzo, and their colorist, Halloran. So it just didn't click the same, even though there was some cool stuff. This story here, who was it by? I wish the credits were on the individual stories. They don't have no time. That's called Meeny Miny Tinkle Upsherin by Denise Camp and Artwain Toplin. It was a great idea of this girl kind of drawing on her window pane, and her drawings interacted with the reality out on the street. like she draws a spaceship, a flying saucer, and it steals someone away. But the way it was done, I didn't understand any of that while I was reading it, and I had to read the entire thing and then flip back and figure out what had happened. So it just missed by a little bit. It could have been actually an incredibly brilliant short horror fantasy story if I had just followed what was going on a little better. And then there was this one, which apparently is written by Al Ewing, and I just didn't click very much at all. I took the video game. And then this one, which played with time and I think make-believe toys and games and not paying attention, to your family as they grow up. But it didn't read right. It didn't quite make sense. But despite the weaknesses of those stories, I don't know, it only made me appreciate more the real Ice Cream Man stories that were contained in here. And I really want to see them do more 4-page stories, the main team. It's amazing what they can do in 4-page stories. There's some kind of attitude about the approach to horror, even though there's no other consistency in all the Ice Cream Man stories. There's just a special Ice Cream Man feel that comes from this creative team that makes it what it is. It makes it just definitely, well, I hate to say it, but very easy to call it the best comic currently being published on a monthly basis. I'm sure there are plenty of other candidates, but that's... Hey, well, I've got you here, and this is sitting around. I've had these heavy metal trading cards for quite a while now, and I kept thinking I would open them like when I did a Sleepy vlog or something, and I never did. So let's open them now and see what they look like. It seems kind of... heavy metal's still published, but it seems kind of weird to have heavy metal trading cards. At this point, it seems like they should have... Or maybe these are just leftover from, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I don't know. I don't recognize that particular cover. That's from 1984. I think by then I might have already faded away from heavy metal. Ooh, that's a cool cover. So anyway, these cards are just reproducing covers. Oh, and they show the contents of that issue. So that's kind of cool. This is fun. Oh, look at that. 1981. This one contains Richard Corbin's Bodyssey in it. Nice. And, Richard Corbin cover. Is that Bodyssey also? Director Frederick Fellini interview. I gotta find this issue. I really should collect more heavy metal. I think by 1984 it was already kind of off of my radar. And then I remember in the early 90s going to stores and picking up heavy metal and looking at it and realizing it was pretty much just an illustrated softcore porn magazine at that stage. It's not that way now, so that's an improvement. Oh, that cover looks very familiar. I must have had that issue at some point. Yeah, 1977. So I collected a lot of the 70s heavy metal, maybe almost all of them. And then my dad found them in my closet and threw them all away because he felt they were pornography. Always good to have a Catholic upbringing. 86. Yeah, that seems like a bit gratuitous booty there. 1982. Anyway, that's fun. I think if I see more of these, I'm going to buy more. I don't know what to do with these cards, but I like having them when they relate to fantasy art. Like I used to have, or maybe still do somewhere, a lot of Frank Frazetta cards, that sort of thing. Richard Corbin cards and stuff would be great. Okay, well, thanks for joining me. I hope this little 2-camera experiment worked. I guess I did this a long time ago and then forgot to keep doing it. And it just occurred to me to try it again now. You all have a good week. Enjoy your comics, and I will be back again soon.